Hey sports fans, this is Phillypuckfan from myhobbywire.com, and today we're doing a little bit of a different video. While My Hobby Wire is primarily a sports card site, we also do gaming and non-sports cards as well. And one thing that I have been into for a long time is Magic the Gathering. Quick background, I started playing in 1994 just as Antiquities had released. So my first packs were unlimited in Antiquities. And I played up until Mirage came out, and then I'd buy a few packs here and there. I jumped out pretty much at that point, and then briefly hopped back in around Magic 2010, hopped out again, forgot about it, and then when we were cleaning my mom's house out, we found my old Magic cards, and I got back in about Ixalan block, so beginning of end of this 17, beginning of 18. I've been playing ever since. And one of the things that I was able to do in 2018 was I was able to purchase the majority of a lot of reserve list cards for pennies on the dollar. My local game shop was selling these cards $10. Normally it's 25 cents a card, but for the special it was 10 for $1. Now this, not all of these came from that, but a big chunk of them did. And at the time in 2018, some of these cards were worth a dime, so it's not like I was making out like a bandit, but reserve list cards have taken off. And I just wanted to go through and show some of these cards out there. If you do have a Magic the Gathering collection that you're looking to unload, I will always look at that. I'll look at any collection. Collections are not as easy to find as they were last year. Everybody and their uncle thinks they have gold, and it's really hard to break it to somebody that, your Fallen Empires commons that are not reserve list are just Foreign Empires commons. They're probably never going to be worth much. Your 1988 Topps baseball cards are still trash. Sorry. A lot of people seem to think that they have gold now, and with the hobby boost. But anyway, without further ado, now some of these cards did come from cleaning mom's house out, and I'll point those out because some of them it's really surprising. And for the most part, these are going to be reserve list cards or cards that are pretty confident that Wizards of the Coast is never going to repeat in this format. So to get started, I'm going to start with two dual lands. These are Savannah. I was a white green player, mostly a green black player, but I had two Savannahs survive. One, I sent this guy off to grading last year, came back as a PSA 9. I thought it was going to gem. I've seen gems that are not as good as this, but PSA 9, I'll take it. Love that the card is just white. The second one, this is not a gradable card. It's still a nice card. It's got white borders, but it's not as bright as the PSA one. And if you look at the back, it does have some chipping on the back up here. There's a chip here. So this would be considered a light play card. One thing I've noticed in the Magic the Gathering community is they don't know how to grade, whoops, that was embarrassing. They don't know how to grade their cards. There's very few that know how to grade their cards. So when somebody says it's a mint card, you really want to take a close look at it, because this could have been sold as mint by somebody. I wouldn't, but this could pass off as mint in the Magic the Gathering community. Now, got two veteran bodyguards and a farmstead. Now, one of the things to know about reserve list cards is a lot of them are really bad. A 2/5 creature back in the day was great, especially since you could direct damage, tap it and direct damage to it, hence being a veteran bodyguard. And Farmstead was pretty pathetic even back then, but because they are on the reserve list, these cards do maintain their value. Looking at MTG stocks right now, and I'm not going to do this on every card that comes up, but MTG stocks revised veteran bodyguard is a $7.29, and Farmstead is $7.50. So these cards would be worth like 30, 40 cents, maybe 50 cents. But for the fact that they're on the reserve list, because nobody's playing with these. These are not going to be in any commander decks that you're going to see. Okay, so now we're going to go to the expansion sets. And it's going to start with the dark. Now, I do have some antiquities cards, but I don't have any that are reserve list. And one of the themes you'll see in these is a lot of these are really not great cards, like Hidden Path, all creatures, green forest walk. Who cares? Nile 7, tap 4 green, regenerated creature. Exciting. Psychic Allergy. Now, this is a cool card. This is basically a way to hose your opponent for playing a color, but it doesn't stay around long because you've got to sacrifice 2 islands during your next upkeep to keep it in place. But it can certainly screw with your opponent for a little bit. Psychic Allergy is these go for $15 a crack on MTG stocks. Scarwood Bandits, take control of target artifact, but it can be countered. So if it couldn't have been countered, that would have been fantastic. But this is still a $25 card. Saurus Path is possibly the worst land card in the history of the game. It doesn't tap for mana. So all you do is exchange 2 of opponent's blocking creatures, which is great, except then it does 2 damage to you and 2 damage to each creature you control whenever it's tapped. So basically, you get to trade blockers, and it kills your creatures. I can't think of a way where this helps you. I'm sure somebody has. It is some of the coolest art in Magic the Gathering, and I think that's an iconic card for how crappy it is. Sometimes things like Stormcrow and Saurus Path get valuable because it's so bad. But I really like the artwork, and this is a $21 card according to MTG stocks. Worms of the Earth. And Wormwood Treefolk. Again, these are cards that would not see play in 2021. So now the ones that I have the most of are Fallen Empires, and yeah, just a warning, they printed a lot of this. So what was happening back in the day, as I go through these, Bomber Restoration, Contorn, bunch of these. Contorn I think is actually up to $10 now. What's happening back in 1994 was Fallen Empires was you'd order 10 boxes and you'd get one, kind of like the allocation that happens now. Contorn's at 11.15. I stand corrected. And so you would order 10. So district hobby shops for buying, local game shops for buying 10, 15, 20, ordering 15, 20, 50 booster boxes just in the hope to get 5. This is Eben Prater. This is some really cool artwork. It's just a ridiculously large bunny there with what looks to be a bugle, and I think that's a peacock and a demon. Wizards is never going to do art like this again. This is hilarious though. It's a 5/5 trample first striker, but the problem is during your upkeep you've got to put a -2/-2 counter on it. So because this thing has summoning sickness, you're probably only getting in for 3, and then it dies. Now, you can sacrifice a creature during your upkeep, remove a -2 counter off of it. And if it was a thrall, then you put a +1/+0 counter on it. So Wizards did away with cards that had +1/+0 counters on it because, you know, counters are just +1/+1, should be like that. But pretty cool artwork. You're not going to see something like this again. Anyway, getting back to it, and I remember this vividly because the local shop I was at ordered for what was it? The dark. They had ordered 50 booster boxes, and they got 5, and they limited us to 10 packs each. So even though I had pre-ordered 2 boxes, I wound up getting like 20 packs. But you know, you can't be a pig. So the shops would get used to ordering 10 times what they needed. We got Homelands Shaman. Yes, we've got a lobster wizard. Yep, that's not a joke. That's a lobster wizard. Although it's summon Homelands, but Shaman is a wizard. Anyhow, that's just funny stuff. It's just funny stuff. There's some funny stuff in Magic. Anyhow, so what would happen is they knew that if it went the same way it had gone, they'd get cut by 90%. So what they did was they ordered my local game shop, and a lot of shops did this. In fact, a ton of them did this. Ordered 120 boxes. So no, 200 boxes, so they could get 2 cases because the cases were 10 boxes each back then. And then all of it showed up. So 200 boxes showed up, and they had this stuff forever. Now the boxes now are like $1,000 a box. It blows me away. I wish I had bought a couple of boxes when they were still in the 200 range, but you know, you live, you learn. And if you do buy the box, keep it sealed for the love of all that's holy. Like the best card in this set, the most valuable card in this set is Rainbow Veil. That's a $16 card. So it's really stupid to buy a $1,000 box searching for a $16 card. It's really stupid. The value is in the sealed box. As the boxes get broken down, because people are stupid, or you know, if you bought it for $200 and you just want to rip it with your buddies, like I could see getting together with the college buddies and doing a booster draft of it. I could see that. I couldn't see doing it at $1,000 a box, but it's not a reversible thing. The packs are broken down and that's it. They're gone. They're not coming back. So every time one of these boxes gets ripped, there's one less box out there. So the value is still in the sealed box. And the values of the cards that come out of it doesn't have a huge impact on the value of the box, because it's about the experience too. Like, would I want to draft Fallen Empires again? No, but there are people that probably would. Now, next set is Ice Age, and Ice Age was printed to oblivion, but like Rudy from Alpha Investments seems to asks, where's the oblivion? Because the oblivion doesn't seem to be around anymore. One particularly funny card, at least to me, there's this card here called Earthlink. And the reason that's funny is because back in the 90s, there was a internet company called Earthlink that was terrible, but we had it. So we had Earthlink in 1996 or 1997 at the apartment we were at. So it was really funny that this crappy internet provider, also the same name was a card. And if you weren't around in the 1990s and you don't understand it, Energy Storm, this is cumulative upkeep, which means the turn after this comes out, you pay 1, and then the next turn it's 2, and so on and so forth. But this Energy Storm, it's a card that still gets used today because damage dealt by instants, interrupts, which don't exist anymore, and sorceries is reduced to 0, and creatures with flying don't untap. So this is a nuisance card, and with as easy as it is as a white player, a green player to create colorless mana, this can really screw around with an opponent. And that's why this card is a $10 card right now. A lot of these are though formation. I mean, no one's ever going to use this card. I can't see it anyway. So a lot of these, it's just simply because of the being on the reserve list. Now here's another one, Glacial Crevices. This got expensive because right now we're playing with snow-covered covered lands. This is a $10 card right now. Sacrifices snow-covered mountains and creatures deal no damage during combat this turn. So if I were playing red and right now, I'd probably have one of these in my deck. And there's like Lava Tubes and Mercenaries and nothing really fantastic out of Ice Age. Your best card is actually not on the reserve list in Ice Age. It's Necropotence, and that is $63 according to MTG stocks at this point. Also, there's some strange things like Martin Strombo is a $20 card now, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Someone can explain that to me, I guess. All right, so the next set up is Homelands, and this is probably the worst set ever made. I had the occasion to go to a draft with Homelands and 4th edition. And 4th edition was such a powerful set, and Homeland was just so terrible. And the decks were just horrendous. So Annaba Ancestor and Annaba Spirit Crafter. Spirit Crafter's at $15, and if Minotaurs ever become a thing, this card goes to 50. Autumn Willows, a $4 card. Now this was just a beast to deal with back in the day because you couldn't target it. So it's just a 4/4 creature that was out there that just hard as heck to get rid of. Other things like Fairy Noble, like these cards they're not getting played, but they're not going to get reprinted either, and that's why they're holding their values. Well, actually, that's why they're going up. Heartwolf has some pretty cool artwork on it. Mammoth Harness, this might be the dumbest enchantment ever. And then there's Marjan, and my daughter's favorite card is coming up in just a moment. Narwhal. She loved narwhals when she was little. She'd sing about narwhals, and I put this card in a deck for her, and she played it, and they had fun with their friends. And I don't think that at their age now that they'd want to, because they'd get annihilated. But when they were little, they liked it. Rysorian Badger, just another dumb card, but it's got value because it's on the reserve list. It'll never get printed again. Veldrain, same thing. Winter Sky, this is a coin flip card. They'll never make this again. Coin flip cards are over with. So that's Ice. No, that's Homelands. So going now to the set that the last set I actually really was a big time player in, and I wish I had some of these boxes left. I was buying these boxes for $75 a piece, and they're over $1,500 now. It's crazy, and this is Alliances. And best card out of this is Lake of the Dead. We'll get there. And I had a bunch of these. Balduvian Trading Post is $18 card now. KS Harlequin. This is not a card that anybody would play, but this clown is hilarious. Dystopia, Floodwater Dam. This I could see someone coming up with something. That Gargantuan Gorilla. This was part of this set was supposed to be a lot about gorillas, and this card was supposed to be like the big one of the big two big rares that were coming out of this set. There is a common called Gorilla Berserker in here that they thought would be a $10 common. Newsflash, it didn't turn out that way. Gush's Stepper, something strange has gone on with this card because this card was all the way up to $20 at one point. So somebody's manipulating the market on this thing. Krovokian Horror. This is just some pretty cool artwork. And here we go. The king of these cards is the Lake of the Dead. This is one of the most expensive cards I have. It was like a $50 card for the longest time. There's no reason, like this is a card that gets played now. There's no reason this can't run the $500. It's not coming down, folks. It just isn't. Omen of Fire, again, some of the coolest artwork there is. Return all islands to opponent's hands. So this really messes up a green. This will mess up a blue player. Phantasmal Smear. Ritual of the Machine's an interesting kind of a card because you could sacrifice a creature to gain control of a non-black or non-artifact creature. Now it costs two black and 2 others, so it's not the cheapest card to play, and it's at sorcery speed. But you know, this still like your opponent has like some monstrous creature out there that you can't get rid of. If you can't beat them, steal them, right? Anyway, Ritual Machines at $15, and I can't. That should be a $50 card all the way home. They're not printing it again. That should be a $50 card all the way home. Sheltered Valley, Sadavy Digger, Splintering Wind, Soldavy Excavations. Somebody's manipulating the market on this. I've got a pretty good idea who it is. I think it's a gag, but you know, it made my $5 Sadavy Excavations go to 30. Thought Lash is at 25. I do not understand why anybody would use this card. Remove the top card of your game to prevent 1 damage. I don't understand why anyone would do this, but somebody's doing it. And Wandering Mage, this card goes up and down. I bought like a dozen of these, well, not a dozen, probably like 5 or 6 of these on ComC, and they're still sitting in my port, and got them for like $1. Whenever I see reserveless cards show up on ComC for a reasonable price, I'm snapping them up and just leaving them there. And eventually I'll have them come home where they belong. The next set we're going to is Mirage, and this was the set that I actually quit on. Just life was changing at the time, and I was getting ready to graduate. This was 1998, and no, wait, 1996. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, I was getting ready to graduate, so Mirage has, and one thing to remember about Mirage is that the biggest card in Mirage is Lion's Eye Diamond, the most expensive, and that one is a almost $700 card. But when it came out, Lion's Eye Diamond was garbage. It wasn't there was very little you could do with your graveyard back then. So anyhow, again, we've got things like Brushwag and Carrion. The Carrion is actually at $10. I don't know what's going on with that. Circle of Despair is at 9, Energy Vortex, and there's a lot of Mirage is a huge set too. So you buy a box and you're not going to get anywhere close to the set, I'm afraid. So don't open a $4,000 box. I wish it were 400. I'd probably buy it at 400. Don't open a $4,000 box chasing particular singles. Phyrexian Tribute's $10. Phyrexian Purge is 13. Prismatic Lace is 7. So the cards and the reserve list cards in this set are really doing well value-wise. Spectral Guardians at 10. Subterranean Spirit, that guy, look at that guy, that is so cool. But that is a $5 card. I don't think, yeah, it does point of damage to each creature without flying, and red has a lot of 1/1 creatures. So yes, you get to kill your creatures. Isn't that lovely? Tombstone Stairwell. This is at $20. This was like up to 40 at one point, so that's why it's in the top load right now. Torrent of Lava. This is a card I still play with. This is in I have one of these in a Commander deck. And Commander is the format that controls Magic cards of value at this point. I've only got a couple of Visions. Visions came after Mirage, and I was out at that point. I had roommates that were still playing though. So I've got an Equipose, which is a $20 card, and a Teferi's Realm, which is at 8. That's really what I've got from that. And then the next set after that is Weatherlight. And Weatherlight, again, I was out, but then I was playing with a friend when I worked at T-Mobile in the early zeros, like 2002, and I picked up a couple of cards to just not get destroyed by him. It didn't help, but got Bosium Strip. Now, this is a great card. I think that this has a lot of utility still, because you can play the top card of your graveyard at any time, as if it was in your hand and then you remove it from the game, which is now called Exile. So this card has picked up some momentum. I can't see a reason why this card doesn't run to $100. I snapped up all the copies that were on ComC. Scorched Runes, this took off like a rocket. This is an $80 card now, and to me, this doesn't make a ton of sense. I understand why it's expensive, but it's not my style of play. And then we've got a Tolarian Entrancer. When it's blocked by a creature, you gain control of it at the end of combat. That's nuts. Throw a lure on that thing. Okay, and now from Urza's Destiny, just Ring of Gix. I've got 4. I don't know how I wound up with 4 of these, but I did. A couple honorable mentions. Now, these aren't officially on the reserve list, but you're never going to see them printed again, at least in the format they're in. So I'm going to start with my favorite card in all of Magic, and it's just because of the art, and that's the Wailuli Wolf. Like, that is just phenomenal artwork. If I could get a playmat with Wailuli Wolf on it, I'd do it. It amazes me that any card I had as a kid, because I really was a kid when this game started. I was 16 or 17 when I first started playing. It amazes me that any card I had back in the day could gem. But the Wailuli Wolf, I had 1 gem and I had 1 come in at PSA 9, and this one was not a gradable card. You're not gonna see, this is not a creature card that would have any utility today, so you're not going to see this card reprinted, and that's unfortunate. This is this is a card that I throw in a Commander deck just because, to be frank. There's only like 2 or 3 gem and 10s of this card in the world, and I'll never sell these. I'll never sell it. I'd have to be in a really bad way. All right, next one is Underworld Dreams. Now, Underworld Dreams just got reprinted, I think, in Ikoria, but this is the first printing. This is from Legends. Now, every time this card gets reprinted, it takes a hit, but then it bounces back, because this is the original artwork, and current value on this, and oh yeah, it wasn't uncommon, so current value on this card is $125. And this card is in really great shape. It wasn't gradable because I didn't think it could come back as a 10. I thought it would come back as a 9, and I might wind up sending it back to grading if PSA ever gets their act together. Yeah, that's an awesome card. And last card is this card called Army of Allah. Now, Army of Allah is not on the reserve list, but last year, maybe it was 2 years ago now, Wizards decided to not print certain cards that were offensive, and cards that were less offensive than this, frankly, got banned. I can't see a situation where Wizards would ever reprint a card called Army of Allah. Now, quick comment about the reserve list. There's some folks out there that seem to think the reserve list will get reprinted. Seems unlikely to me. They'd be begging for a lawsuit. As an attorney, I can formulate a reason why they could break the reserve list, but it's not going to be worth the legal battle they'll get into. So do I think reserve list cards will eventually be reprinted? Yes, I do. Maybe not in my lifetime, but I think they will. But it'll only be reprinted as a Hail Mary pass to keep the game alive or to make a few bucks on the way out. The general counsel of Wizards of the Coast has enough trouble with his current staff, with Mark Rosewater and his idiotic blog, where he confesses to violating labor laws. Whatever they pay that general counsel is not enough. And if I were sitting in the general counsel office at Wizards and someone came to me and said, hey, we want to break the reserve list, I'd be typing up my resignation letter. And I'm fairly sure that that's what they've been told, that's how it'll go. They will lose their attorney, and their attorney that protects them from themselves. And so I sincerely doubt you will see I sincerely doubt that you will see a reprint on the reserve list cards until they're in a position of desperation. So anyhow, I hope that this was a little bit of informative. I know I probably rambled for a bit here, but these reserve list cards, they've gone from 10 cents, some of them to $20 in the course of a couple of years. I'm always interested in looking at collections, whether it be sports collections or Magic the Gathering. You can reach me at Phillypuckfan on Twitter. Until next time, have a great evening, and y'all keep collecting. Bye-bye.